Good evening. I'm here, we're back, and we're glad you joined us. I'm Charles X. White with Community Views and Solutions, Public Access Public Affairs, and we're here tonight. Our program is pretty diverse. We're going to have an interesting lineup, and hopefully you'll get some good information that you can actually use tonight, tomorrow, in the near future. I'm going to make a few announcements before we get into our guests and our topics for tonight. One announcement has to do with the Martin Luther King celebration for Saturday, January 19th. Miss Sandra Hines out of Sunnyside is putting together her annual Phenomenal Children's March. If you want to participate, call her at 832-374-5585. That's Sandra Hines with the Phenomenal Children's March celebration to Martin Luther King on Saturday the 19th, beginning at 8 a.m. Her number is 832-374-5585. Neighborhood Voices. On January 28th at 7 p.m., we invite the community to call in and make your voice heard with Neighborhood Voices. It's a conference call session from neighborhoods all over the city, zip codes, and whatnot. The phone number is 605-475-409. And the access code is 896351. Last announcement. On January 31st, the largest community partnership exchange breakfast in the state of Texas. January 31st, 9 a.m. at South Union Church of Christ, 288 at Holly Hall. The public is free. The place where good friends and good biscuits meet. You know where it is. All right. One of our guests is from the School of Public Affairs, as you can see on the monitor, but we want to have a reflection to one of the icons of Houston and national and international politics, which is our own Barbara Jordan. We want to take you back a little bit to a time where giants walked the halls of Congress. Could you give us that clip on Congresswoman Barbara Jordan?
Recognize the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Jordan, for the purpose of general debate, not to exceed a period of 15 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Jordan.
Mr. Chairman, I join my colleague, Mr. Rangel, in thanking you for giving the junior members of this committee the glorious opportunity of sharing the pain of this inquiry. Mr. Chairman, you are a strong man, and it has not been easy, but we have tried as best we can to give you as much assistance as possible. Earlier today, we heard the beginning of the preamble to the Constitution of the United States. We the people. It's a very eloquent beginning. But when that document was completed on the 17th of September in 1787, I was not included in that we the people. I felt somehow for many years that George Washington and Alexander Hamilton just left me out by mistake. But through the process of amendment, interpretation, and court decision, I have finally been included in we the people. Today, I am an inquisitor, and hyperbole would not be fictional and would not overstate the solemnness that I feel right now. My faith in the Constitution is whole, it is complete, it is total, and I am not going to sit here and be an idle spectator to the diminution, the subversion, the destruction of the Constitution. Who can so properly be the inquisitors for the nation as the representatives of the nation themselves? The subjects of its jurisdiction are those offenses which proceed from the misconduct of public men. And that's what we're talking about. In other words, from the abuse or violation of some public trust. It is wrong, I suggest, it is a misreading of the Constitution for any member here to assert that for a member to vote for an article of impeachment means that that member must be convinced that the president should be removed from office. The Constitution doesn't say that. The powers relating to impeachment are an essential check in the hands of the body, the legislature, against and upon the encroachments of the executive. The division between the two branches of the legislature, the House and the Senate, assigning to the one the right to accuse and to the other the right to judge. The framers of this Constitution were very astute. They did not make the accusers and the judges the same person. We know the nature of impeachment. We've been talking about it a while now. It is chiefly designed for the president and his high ministers to somehow be called into account. It is designed to bridle the executive if he engages in excesses. It is designed as a method of national inquest into the conduct of public men. The framers confided in the Congress the power, if need be, to remove the president in order to strike a delicate balance between a president swollen with power and grown tyrannical and preservation of the independence of the executive.
Powerful.
Wonderful.
We're joined with Dr. Michael O. Adams from the school, Barbara Jordan, Mickey Leland School of Public Affairs. How you doing, Professor?
I'm doing wonderful, Charles. Thank you.
You heard the eloquent words of Congresswoman Jordan.
Yes.
And you are the one responsible for a lot of the edification that adorned her slogans and quotes and speeches. We want to thank you and Texas Southern for all of that. But we're here tonight to talk about some of the offerings of the School of Public Affairs, and you're the department chair. You're going to tell the audience a little bit about you.
I'm Michael Adams. My background, my training is in political science. I'm a practicing political scientist, and we are at Texas Southern University. I think I'm charged to train students in terms of making sure that they have not only the hard skills, but the soft skills to make sure that they're able to enter the workplace. But also as a part of the Texas Southern University's mission, it's urban in its core. And we live in the heart and soul, as the president of the university likes to say. And we are here to not only teach our students, but to engage them in the community and to make sure that they imbue it with the passion to go out and make a difference in the community. In terms of the programs, that moving introduction by Barbara Jordan, certainly I think everyone who walks through the corridors of the Barbara Jordan Mickey Leland School of Public Affairs, we stand on her shoulders. And I'm proud to work in a setting that is like no other. Very few people can say that they work in the Barbara Jordan Mickey Leland School of Public Affairs, and that has special resonance for me and its meaning, and it's something that I have as a daily part of not only my DNA but my mission to make sure that we train our students to be not only bright but the best, and to give back to their community and to be able to make a difference like Barbara Jordan and Mickey Leland. Because if you look at the twin sectors, what they were doing, we saw the clip. Barbara Jordan was talking about Watergate, the impeachment of the President of the United States of America. That's domestic policy. Mickey Leland, he perished and on a mission where he was basically trying to make an impact globally. So we have the intersectionality of these two great leaders. And if we can get our students to understand that, to make sure that when they leave, and many of them are doing great jobs, and I would like to talk at some point about some of our students and where they are in the platforms that they're working in.
And the School of Public Affairs has 2 institutes.
Yes, right. Yes, we have the Barbara Jordan Institute, and also we have the Urban Research and Resource Center. And just today, they had a major conference on criminal justice reform. And you know, if you look at the previous election, certainly we shouldn't penalize poverty in terms of bail reform. And if you look at some of the outstanding panels that took place today in the Barbara Jordan Mickey Leland School of Public Affairs, it's just amazing to see how we can be thought leaders and make sure that our leaders here are doing the right thing and implementing and promoting policies that can help the least of us.
You mentioned the phrase thought leaders.
Yes.
You are a published author yourself, right?
Yes, that's correct, Joe.
And some of the topics that you have been published on, can you give us a couple of those?
Yeah, we do public.
What are topics that you know?
Public policy, and often I tell my colleagues at Texas Southern University, regardless of whether you're in the College of Science Technology or whether you're in the pharmacy school or whether you're in the business school, you're going to come back. It's going to have to deal with something about public policy. And I tell my colleagues all the time, we're positioned, we're on the power side of the campus. You can come up with a bright idea, you can come up with a new drug, but at some point you're going to have to come to the business school to develop a business plan on that side. You're going to have to deal with the legal ramifications of it. But when it comes down to selling it, in terms of making sure that the policy, that the government, all right, that we are addressing, it's going to be in the School of Public Affairs. So we're training our students to make sure that they are leaders and to be innovators today. And some of the topics that I've written on, we've talked about big pharma in terms of looking at the high cost of prescription drugs, for example. And also we deal with all policy aspects in terms of housing. We have in the School of Public Affairs urban planning. We also have an administration of justice program. So all of these things, our students will come there. They're able to impact and understand and how to develop policies that will bring about change. We have some new degree programs, and I would like to talk about some of those. We have an emergency management homeland security program, and you know how important the emergency management is. And certainly not only it's a growth area in terms of jobs and opportunities for our students, but normally in terms of if we look at Hurricane Harvey, for example, the greatest impact is normally it's on those people who live in poverty, and they're more often than not, they're people who look like me. So I think we have a mission and an obligation to make sure that our students are trained, that we're able to position people in the workforce, in the public domain, that will operate and have a different set of priorities and to be able to be imbued with the spirit and an endowment of helping individuals.
Now, a lot of people in the audience may not realize that because TSU is geographically located in the middle of Houston's which is one of the highest threat zones of a city
Yes.
in America, if not the highest. Matter of fact, Police Chief McClendon at one of our conferences said that Houston has a higher threat level than New York.
Yes.
And you, representing Texas Southern, have one of 2 four-year degree programs in Homeland Security Emergency Management. And I'm not sure that people understand that it's an urban mission
Yes.
set by President Spearman.
No, Sawyer.
Sawyer.
Many years
Sawyer.
ago, he had the vision to make sure that TSU had an urban mission and an urban focus. But I think you said something very important, Charles. And you mentioned in terms of where we're positioned, but when we talk about emergency management, we have to talk about all hazards, all right?
Correct.
Whether they're man-made or whether they're a natural disaster. We live in close proximity to the medical center. We also we live in close proximity to the one of the largest port in terms of tonnage. That's the Houston Port Authority. And with Houston being a very large urban area, we are constantly open to threats. And so why not have these degree programs where we can train individuals in emergency management? We have a large first responder course. These individuals, they need training. They need certificates, for example. So I think Texas Southern is rightfully positioned to be able to train and to be able to make an impact. And we talk about, I tell my students all the time, all right, it's not just having a degree, you want an education, to be able to understand these things and to be able to help others, to give back. And what does it mean? Why shouldn't TSU be involved in developing the plan in terms of all threats as it relates to the natural disasters that the medical center may, present?
Well, you said something about public policy, all roads meet, so to speak,
That's
at
right.
public policy.
That's right.
Well, in the area of criminal justice, homeland security, there's a growing and emerging market that deals with cyber attacks, artificial intelligence. So I've heard you mention some things, but why don't you give the audience an idea of TSU's role, your department's role, the students' career track on artificial intelligence, cyber training, and whatnot?
Yeah, it's very important because not only do we have emergency management, we have homeland security. And the greatest threat, as you see as being discussed today, is election security. That's homeland security. That's
Correct.
cyber attacks, whether it's credit cards or access to your credit, whatever it is. But it also impacts upon the common man, as we like to say, all right, in terms of poor people and poverty. So we're the one we're normally targeted in terms of criminal activity. And if you look at the role or the intersectionality of artificial intelligence, that the world is changing, and we have to equip our students to understand the intersection of artificial intelligence. What does it mean in terms of photographic identification, for example? Mm-hmm. You can Google a photograph. If it's a person of color, it may come back in terms of a negative identification. It could be, if it's 3 high school students, if they happen to be African American male students, they may come back and say gang membership. If it comes up as 3 Anglo or white high school students, the definition or the algorithm will read back high school reunion or something, or high school students. And so we have to be involved in the coding. And that's where we are in terms of artificial intelligence, because everything is going in that direction. And even in public service, the training of our students to come up with apps to make government more efficient, for example. If you run across a pothole, for example, in the city of Boston, they have an app called Bump Service, for example, so it can identify in real time. So management is changing, the public sector is changing. And so it all comes back to how artificial intelligence may be the wave of the future. So if we're not teaching our students, and if the curriculum is not universal in all of the schools, not just the School of Public Affairs, whether it's in pharmacy, whether it's in technology, I think we need to have an understanding of this. I'm planning a hackathon for the spring semester, for example. We'll bring young people together, and they'll be able to address a public policy problem and come up with solutions that will make it step-by-step easier for City Hall. So these are the things that people are doing today. And so we're here.
For government right now.
For government right now.
Local government.
Local government. We're here to connect the technology to solving public policy problems. Yeah.
You said a lot with that. Now, give us a little picture in this term that's popular to some, unknown to others, big data. Okay. What is big data?
Big data is everything that all government, in terms of the federal level of government, the state level of government, right now it's called the Internet of Things. You can go on and you can log in and you can retrieve data. And so we have to be able to understand and be able to process that data. And if you look at the analytics, and life is made much easier. I did a paper on the Obama election, for example. And if you look at the change in dynamics in terms of how he was able to use the internet to solicit small campaign donations and to change the platforms of elections. We see that even today, whether you like Donald Trump or not. He was known as the Twitter president. So the dynamics in terms of using access to different platforms and also as data-driven, and to be able to come up with algorithms and is impacting on the public sector, both in elections and also in terms of public policy solutions and problem solving.
Well, what was Obama known for? He wasn't the Twitter president, was he?
No, he used social media.
Social media
Social
president.
media. He was one of the first presidents
Yeah.
to use social media, and certainly he was very successful at it.
Well, let me ask you this. I do want to mention President Lane and Provost Harris.
Yes.
We want to thank them for their leadership, and Acting Dean Harrington.
Yes.
But you're the one that's right there every day.
Right.
You're the one the students come to see first. How do you see the student population accepting their roles and responsibilities in society? You see them from this angle, from that angle, all the way to graduation. Some that drop out, come back. Give the audience a snapshot in that.
Yeah, I think it's important in my position, and I live in the Third Ward, which is in the neighborhood of Texas Southern University. So I have an unabiding commitment in terms of the community to make sure that the university understands that it's a part of the community. And I try to get my faculty to understand we need to be in the building to talk to young people, because our students, they don't really drop out, and certainly they will stop out.
Stop out.
And they
Okay.
have real problems. They could be $100 or short in terms of being evicted, from their apartments, or not having food. And food security in terms of college campus, it's a major concern today.
Food security.
Yes, to be there to make sure that they get enough to eat, Charles.
Wait a minute. Let me give out the number if somebody wants to call and ask you about food security.
Yeah. So
713-807-1794. 713-807-1794. That's if for you all to have any questions, but especially for you all to have that question on food security.
Yeah, because it's important for our students, and I like to keep them in the building, for example. And I have ideas in terms of how we can make, our School of Public Affairs more student-friendly in terms of making sure that they are there in the building, and we could create what I call a pedestrian corridor, where we have a lot of public policy programs where people from city government, the county government, they can have their meetings there. And as I mentioned today, the Urban Research and Resource Center had a major conference, and there were a number of judges. There were people from all walks of criminal justice, and you can interact with these students, and it ends up in an opportunity for the students, an internship, all right, where, again, these students, they are accepted as being a part of the community. And it's very important to talk to the students and advise them so they can see themselves as being me. And since I've been at TSU, it's always been my goal to train my replacement, all right, to be able to have somebody to come in and to continue what we've done. I've had a tremendous amount of help throughout my life and career, and I've worked with some outstanding faculty members that have been able to give me a spirit in terms of wanting to develop and making sure that the legacy of Barbara Jordan and Mickey Leland continues.
Well, in a wrap-up, give us your best elevator sales pitch to the public as to why you want them to come to TSU.
I think we have outstanding programs, and I like to tell people, and I didn't get a chance to get to our master's program.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm also
You gonna come back?
Yeah, I'd love to come back, Charles. I'm the director of the Masters of Public Administration program, which is accredited by, we have a regional accreditation. It's called NASPA. It's the Networks of Schools of Public Affairs. We are the only accredited program in the city of Houston that's accredited by NASPA, other than in our area. Our closest competition is the Bush School at Texas A&M.
Watch out
and,
now.
and the LBJ School at UT. So we play on that level in that. So why wouldn't you want to come and matriculate at Texas Southern University and the outstanding and the legendary Barbara Jordan Mickey Leland School of Public Affairs?
Well, Dr. Adams, we want to thank you for joining us today, and we look for you to come back. We're going to talk about all of that we didn't get a chance to talk about, and we're going to have some of that national conversation.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, and We'll be right back with our next guest.
Good.
Mark? Y'all say, what the hell was that? How y'all doing? We're back, second part of the show. We have two guests. I want to introduce them, but I want to explain why that particular transition clip was played, because it bears on the topics and our guests that are here today. So first, I want to introduce Pastor, businessman Byron Jones from the South Side. He's going to be here with us. And we have from the North Side, Eduardo Luna. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
And he's from the North Side. He's a community worker and a businessman. This is a pastor and a businessman. And we're going to talk about the commonalities north to south or by certain zip codes. And we're going to talk about the commonalities. But I want to share with you, when we talk about disparities, I want to give you a glimpse. Mark, can we get that close-up shot? This is a study done by the City of Houston Planning Department, 2001, 2003. This study was, as the planning director at the time told me, that this is the most comprehensive study done for this sector of Houston in the history of Houston. This is the base of all of the gentrification, as far as I'm concerned. This is the base of research that went into all the redevelopment plans and all the motivation that followed after 2003 to right now, that deals with land grabs in different communities, specific communities. Mark, I need a close-up on this one. For the audience, there is a plan, and let me say plural, plans that go far into the future. 2060 plan. 2060 plan. There was a 2020 plan that was done in the 1980s. So we need you to understand that when you see certain neighborhoods, when you look through certain Hispanic or Black neighborhoods and they are low performing or low serving, This is by design. Somebody designed this. This is 2060. This last shot, Mark. Here's a regional plan that's dealing with 2040. Certain zip codes are planned in and around, and certain zip codes are cash cows. People pay taxes, but don't get the services. The stereotypical neighborhoods that are low performing, you think it's people driven. It's the black people, it's the Hispanic. No. It's the political people, the developers, the carpetbaggers, and all of those types, along with elected officials and bureaucrats. Yeah, I said it. Elected officials and bureaucrats. You can come on this show, any of y'all, to debate me about whatever I say. Now that you can take it as a challenge or an invitation, either one, come on. Now, our guest, Byron Jones, cowboy extraordinaire, businessman extraordinaire, pastor extraordinaire. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Take a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to go to Eduardo to give the audience a flavor of South Park, Houstonian, everything.
Well, one of the things about me that makes me unique to South Park is I've been in South Park all my life. 60 years old now, and moved into South Park when we were migrating out of the Third Ward area. So back in the early 60s, my mother, and I think that's one of the things that triggered the Moving On Up sitcom with George Jefferson and them. So mother was moving on up, and we moved out of Third Ward into the South Park area, which at that time was a predominantly white neighborhood. So we were the unwelcomed and unappreciated. So I was on the very first bus that broke segregation that sent us to the white schools. They had the police officers and what have you to escort us and make sure we made it in school. But in all of the turmoil of watching South Park going from a striving neighborhood to where it is now has put a compassion in me, because I'm still living in South Park even as we speak today. The efforts I make to redevelop in my own little scope, taking control of a convenience store that's now black-owned, that I try to utilize to inspire those in the neighborhood that understand that we can make a difference if we put our own efforts out. We're not getting what we need from public officials. I often see now, in being a person that has been stuck in South Park, and my siblings want to know, why do I still live there? For although I'm so compassionate about South Park, the very street I grew up on, I bought my home on it. I live on the same street. Still own, my mother's house is still there, which is a rental house. Now on the other end, I bought on the same street. Several other homes I bought in to try to redevelop, and also to inspire others to know that we are responsible for our own neighborhood. We've got to take the initiative to do it. I also pastor a church there on the renowned Martin Luther King Boulevard, a storefront church which has not always been a church. It's been a businesses, but now it has, God has flipped it to a church now, and several other things that I do. But I think my most driving force is my desire to see the renovation, that we can become a striving neighborhood again, and stop, all the ruins that lie around now. We look like we're a desert because we term it the hood, but you remember I made a move of putting the neighbor back in the hood.
Right.
You know, I did a big conference about we need to learn how to put the neighbor back in the hood, because see, my mother was a single parent. And when they had that old cliche about it took a village to raise a child, that was real back then. Didn't have a daddy figure in the house, but I had father figures of men around the neighborhood. If I got out of line, they got you back in line. Can't do that anymore, you know. But that's who I am. I'm now a pastor. Been pastoring now 8 years and preaching 18. So with that, my back, I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes in life that has taught me.
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
We're going to get to some of the initiatives that you have initiated, completed, some of your successes with outreach to the community and so on. But let's go to the north side.
Let's go.
See, y'all know I can go north, south, east, and west.
Yes, you
I
can.
grew up on all sides of town. Hallelujah.
My name is Eduardo Luna. I'm a community organizer for the northeast side of Houston, Texas. I was born and raised in 7716 on the northeast side for Homestead and Tidwell. I attended Shadydale Elementary, Northwood Middle School, and Forest Brook High School, which was known as North Forest Independent School District at first, but now it's HISD grounds. I became a community organizer during the time of Harvey, knowing that there were neighbor communities that needed help or even outreach from other people, and that's where I came in. Before that, I'm just a typical soccer coach. I love coaching.
Whoa.
Yes, sir.
You know how to do soccer?
I'm a great coach. I'm a great coach. I'm a great coach, and I love basketball. I play basketball, my thing, but I love watching some soccer, and that's why I started with my nephew. He actually started that love of soccer, so I just wanted to be able to coach him in them fields because we don't have soccer on our side. But now I'm volunteering coaching for my elementary school, which is Shadydale, and I have my own soccer league now with the 6th graders from Forest Brook Middle School. So little things like that was just some things that I've been doing in the neighborhood and out the neighborhood, and from the house or outside in the streets and everything. But yeah, little things like that.
What about that park you told me about?
Oh, the Spark Park. The Spark Park was dedicated to my elementary school in '96, and it was
your elementary school.
My elementary school, which is Shadydale Elementary. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And when HISD took over, the park had got neglected. So noticing it was neglected, they would like to change the doors up and everything. So I went into the city hall. I called the Spark Parks director and everything to see how can we get it back open. But to kind of find out, there was mold and there was rust in the actual playgrounds and stuff like that. So I did my part to get all that clean and everything. No help from the city officials. Not that I've asked for their help, but it's more of something that's supposed to have already been done, either from HISD or somebody that's supposed to be doing that part on its own, not building up mold. When Harvey came, we didn't get affected by Harvey, so I don't see how mold was even in there. So that's taken care of. Now it's just getting the park giving it back to the community.
What street is the park on?
On Tidwell, in front of Shadydale Elementary School. It's when the school was rebuilt in '99. That's when we left. I left in '98, and when it was rebuilt, they built some parks inside the school, so they never even went back to the actual park. Which when we were there, we had parades, we had everything. I remember like it was yesterday. And nowadays, we're actually trying to get the North Forest Independent School District back as of not as a district, but as a family, the way we were. Because that's the thing that I do remember as of my teachers, my counselors, principals, because my 6th grade principal also went with us to my 4 years of high school. So we're real close.
What was his name or her name?
Mr. Dupas.
Oh.
Yes, sir. And yeah, things like that. And I'm from the northeast side, and it's a lot that can be done better, but like I said, there's nobody actually, when I do ask for outreach or from any other community, it's nobody on that side that's actually taking us in or asking us what do we need, or vice versa. They can ask us for what they need and we'll help, but there's nothing like that right now on the northeast side.
Byron, you were on the you were the actual chairman of the
City of Houston Urban AIDS Ministry.
City of Houston Urban AIDS Ministry. Just kind of go into some of those successes that you had when you served in that capacity, and the things you were doing with the rappers. You know, kind of get an audience a
Yeah.
feel. And the reason I'm doing this
sir.
is because there are people in every neighborhood just like these fellas, young and old.
Yes, sir.
And so the resources that are in the community, and part of the reason I wanted to show that clip is because if you notice, after Harvey, elected officials did not toot their own horns. They tooted the horns of the people that came together without instruction, without direction, without training. They just did what people always do. Now, to me, I saw that as an admission.
Of what they wasn't doing.
Exactly.
Of what they wasn't doing.
So let's
They
talk
took
about.
advantage of that. A lot of the things, and I applaud all that you've done, and I heard and I just fell in love with you. The driving force is compassion. And you have it, and it's just something that's instilled in us. One of the main reasons I went aboard and chaired the City of Houston's Urban AIDS Ministry was because of my compassion for people and finding that they were outcasts. And the outcasts ended up in the neighborhoods, in our neighborhoods, and nobody wasn't doing anything about it. So the various numbers and where most that was affected or infected were living in Sunnyside, South Park, and we had no clue. But people would look at it as if it was taboo. You know, you think you can't rub arms with a person that's affected. But I did find out through the many investigating and teachings that I went through that it was lack of education, us not being knowledgeable enough. So I was moved in a way that I wanted to now empower the churches, that they start taking that elephant out of the closet and start discussing it in the realm of the church. So the Urban AIDS Ministry was a group, the task force was a group of individuals that rallied the churches to build within their facilities areas that they can talk about it and then make themselves available to be helpers instead of those that hurt those that were affected. So with that, and I chaired that up quite a bit. We did a lot of wonderful things. Matter of fact, I'm still currently there, but I'm not actively involved because the city officials moved all of the monies available now, and there's so much red tape, you call it the bureaucratic BS, in which it is. So it kind of turned me off and kind of unlit the fire that was burning, because when they once was available, then they took everything and they make everything unavailable for us. They give us periodic, they give us stuff to put out, flyers, but they do not put funds available that we can go out and test folk and all
Now,
that.
on that point, to the audience, because they might say, well, why would your fire burn out when the money burn out? Let me explain how some of this works.
Yes,
Government works, and universities, many of them, work on funding cycles and sources for 3 to 5 years. In 3 to 5 years, the money's going to run out.
That's true.
That is because of the model that's from the 1900s on how they service the community. This, as a public entity that's servicing problems by tax dollars. So that model is ineffective. If it's on a 3 to 5 year cycle, the problem is going to outgrow the 3 to 5 year cycle. The other problem that compounds that is the problem itself is organic.
Okay.
It grows, it changes, it moves, it's fluid. But the solutions that they put on it are autocratic or synthetic. So you cannot solve an organic problem with a synthetic
solution.
application. So they are not growing with and changing their application or the process that deals with funding. One of the things it is that, again, from Harvey, I've always been an advocate of, why are you going from 3 employees to 12? Because you write all these grants and you take most of the money and hire people to halfway do the job. Well, why don't you take 5 of those positions, split it up with the people in the community that's going to be actually living there to serve the need of the person
Exactly.
or the problem.
Exactly.
Because that worker from the city or the county, they going home. All right? See, so it's a lot of dynamics that the audience is not necessarily aware of.
true.
But when I hear you saying that, I look at the source of the problem because that's the source of the money.
Yeah, but one of the things that I must shed light on is that the position I held was not a paid position.
Oh, no, it wasn't.
That was
That's a
volunteer.
good point.
That was volunteer work, and they made money available that we can excite and ignite the people
Yeah, they do.
to come out and do things. It was not money that they gave us to put in our pocket. It was
Right.
money they made available that we can inform and educate the people. You know, and then they just snatch the rug out from under us and say, y'all go out and still volunteer and do the work. But
That's
they
just
would
like
not pay,
Trump.
pay for the facilities that we needed to
Exactly.
to do the stuff.
That's just like Trump saying, y'all go to work, but we're not going to pay you. They're not going to.
Same thing.
Okay?
Same thing.
All right.
Yeah.
So now, Eduardo, what was this event you had in December? Give the audience an idea of that the impact of that event.
Well, last year I had an event at Tidwell Park. It's on the northeast side. It's called a Unity Fun Day at the Park. And the reason why I called it a Unity Fun Day at the Park was because I wanted everybody as community members, kids, parents, PTO members, business owners, anybody that's around the neighborhood to come together and either just speak to each other or associate with each other as of what's going on in the community. I'm part of the PTO, so I was able to actually get things around the actual event to be able to make it a successful event, and people came and everything. So what I was looking for out of that is to be able to have the people who needs some type of fundraisers or anything, like their kids, if their kids need fundraisers, to be able to come do their fundraisers at the event that we're having, so their parents won't have to be worried about that part, which our schools are having problems with now, which is funds for their instruments, for their buses, for any
Right,
type of
right,
things that they need, which HID is supposed to be taking care of that. If not, the community will. But at the same time, we are the community and we are PTOs, which I am. But at the same time, I'm looking for the outside reach, which I'm looking for, because the government, they usually use the school for their advertisement. They usually go and actually set up field trips for these kids to go to one of their events and stuff like that. And they're getting all the votes and stuff like that, but they never come back to the community when it's all said and done. So I decided to do the same thing that they're doing, but do it for the community, do everything for free, make sure everybody comes and have somewhere to come and be able to go back home comfortable.
And how was you able to fund it?
Self-funded, people from the community,
The
my
entrepreneur, the business
classmates,
owners, right.
people I grew up with, who seen that what I was doing was would be a success for the community and everything. As long as I'm doing something for the community, and especially for my community, they will support it so much, and I do have that support, but it's just from the community though, so I need more support from other
Yeah.
people.
I like
What
that.
about
I like that.
where? If people wanted to get in touch with you, where are you located? What's your number? Same thing for you.
Well,
understand.
again, I'm South Park implant, if you will, and my church is at 8601 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And right next door to it, I have acquired the restaurant, which is called Nicey's Restaurant. It's a part of the ministry. So we do have a
Y'all got
restaurant.
grits?
We have fish and grits. we have it all. We have our soul food. And then it's several things that we have done in the community. We did a big event, and I called it Putting the Neighbor Back in the Hood, and brought everybody out. I had vendors from the police department to the fire department. Really very community involved, and Charles has been involved in some of the things that we've done out there, and trying to get the people to start understanding the importance of we got to take care of ourselves.
That's true.
You know, we got right now making a move now to bring the rappers and the gang members together, because the gangs are a product of rap music.
That's true.
And I don't want to put too much out there because I'm still currently pulling that thing together. So it's a lot of different things that you and I would like to stay in touch with you, because I can see the importance for you and I being able to bring a coalition together from the
sir.
north to the south,
course,
because we have to do that. We're too divided right now.
That's true.
At the end of the day, we're still Houston. And our little areas are the ruins. When you showed me that 2060 plan already, and you can rest assured in 2060, your area, my areas are probably not even inclusive. There's nothing been planned around
If they are, they're redesigned.
Yeah.
And repopulated.
Exactly.
And pushing us
new
out.
people, yeah.
Pushing us out while they flood the neighborhood with
What's
these.
your number if they want to get in touch?
You can reach me at 713-734-4370. That is the number to the church. Or if you need to catch me and I'm not there at the church, you can call me at 832-269-5489. That's the restaurant, and someone's always there.
Eduardo.
You can find me on Facebook at EDUARDO Luna Lopez, LUNA, last name Lopez, LOPEZ. And my number is 337-707-6079.
Well, we're going to close out, but we're going to have dialogue, north to south, brother to brother, and then we'll include some sisters later on. Don't y'all try to jump on me. But see, that was a myth. That still is a myth, that there was a black-brown coalition. In my time, so y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember that time. I remember some slogans. I remember some political initiatives, but I don't remember a black-brown coalition. And if we would have had one back then today, we wouldn't be having that problem at HISD, Hispanics and blacks trying to usurp one another.
Right.
See, one of the
One
of the things that happened is the Hispanics are saying, well, the school district is so many percent Hispanic, and we want a Hispanic superintendent. Well, you had Petrozello, you had Saavedra, Carranza, and you know what? What we had? Rod Page. What are we talking about? So it's not about that. It's about who's gonna do the good job for the children. See, it done got too political.
Wow.
So we want you to understand, and we're gonna be talking to the superintendent as well, and some of the board members. But we're gonna close out tonight. We'll see you next time on Community Views and Solutions, Public Access, Public Affairs, HMS TV. We thank you for viewing with us, and we'll see you next time. Mark, you have that clip. Don't forget, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Yes, give us that clip, Mark. We're gonna close out on the doctor.
What we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.